And Trustee McKinney, would you please read our vision and board norms?
Yes, our vision states all students in Birmingham will realize their full potential, think critically, and champion an innovative tomorrow. Our board norms are be respectful and reflective, be prepared, no surprises, ask questions and seek to understand opinions, assume positive intent, understand and respect the role of a trustee. Thank you.
And now I would like to turn it over to Dr. Roberson for the superintendent's report.
For our superintendent's report, I actually wanted to speak with the board about the Student Ambassadors Program and ask for permission. In the fall, I would like our student ambassadors to have 2 representatives on the board who could sit with our central administration. They would not have a vote, of course, because they are not elected members, but I thought it would be a good way to lift up student voice and allow them to have an opportunity to share their thoughts on pertinent issues that the board would vote on. They would rotate through where they would stay for 2 to 3 months, the way we've kind of looked at this school year. And then we would have another 2 members. And the reason I wanted 2 is because anytime you have students with a number of adults, you don't want to have just one. They're very capable, but at the same time, it's nice to have another student with them. So I want to offer that up for consideration and discussion with the board.
Now, would we put this into a resolution, or is this just kind of like a head nod decision and we're welcoming student representation, student ambassadors?
Yeah, I don't know that it needs to be a resolution or part of policy. It was just hoping that if it was something that this board would be amenable to, that they would just allow the students to be able, again, to just sit and give feedback. And we would do some preparation with the students in order for them to be prepared, them being able to read the public documents so that they can know and be versed on the topic, but then also having conversation with them about representing their community. So not just their own personal opinion, but their constituents, which is the students.
So I am a strong advocate for students, and I see the value in them participating in boards. I'm familiar with students serving on nonprofit boards. My only pause is that we are elected officials, and my concern, I'm wondering if maybe the study session would be more of a place where there could be more interaction, in conversation versus at an actual board meeting. That's my only hesitation.
Are you concerned that discussions might go off track, or?
No, just because it's a more formal body, we're elected officials, and it is live, it's broadcasted, and we're conducting formal business. That's my only pause, but I see the value in it, and I could go either way, but I just throw that out for consideration.
Would you consider having them attend both study session and the board meeting? Because I do agree that oftentimes, in order to fully understand and be able to answer questions at our formal meetings, you are better off if you've sat through the study session. I mean, that holds true for all of us as well. So what was your vision?
The vision was for them to attend study session and board meeting.
Okay.
Are there other school districts doing this?
Bloomfield Hills has done it in the past.
We had student reps in Brighton when I worked in Brighton. Attend board meetings.
Would these people be changing, like the 2 students every 3 months, you said?
Except for the last 2 months, the last would be 2 months, the May and June, and partly because we usually have more board meetings during May and June than we have in the others, because we have sometimes, like this month, three And because there's just, it wasn't divisible by.
So will they not be breaking any law or anything? I mean, honestly, I'm really thinking about the legality and the formality.
They would not, so they would be just like, how our central administration team sits on the side. You would, ask them, just like, our central administration does not jump in when you guys are having a meeting unless you ask them a question.
Okay, got
And
it.
so it would be the same, I would hope that you would ask them either in a study session or in a board meeting, what are students saying, what is the student's perspective? But you are the elected body, so you're not trying to alter any of the things that you're doing around the votes, but having a seat at the table where they can share the student perspective on a particular issue.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I don't know how many student ambassadors there are in the program. Will each one of them get a chance to do this?
No.
No, okay.
Well, not likely. There's 21 of them right now.
Okay.
We would not be able to get 21 within a year and then the next year. But as, when I talk to the students about, well, who wants to do this, not all of them want to. They also know that it's a commitment, right?
Right.
So some of them were thinking about their own studies and what they would need to do in sports, what they would need to do to be prepared. Because they do take their roles and responsibilities very seriously. So there'll be other opportunities for those student ambassadors who maybe are not participating in this part of it to do some other things.
So can you just refresh my memory? What is the purpose of the Student Ambassador Program? What is it that they're learning and we're hoping to learn from them?
So the purpose of the Student Ambassador Program is to really lift up student voice and student voice in important decision making. So we had, we started later in the year, so we've only had 3 official meetings, and then we had a 4th just fun meeting where we play games together. But it was an opportunity for them to learn about the district, to learn the inner workings of the district, to ask questions about why things work the way they work, and to also give suggestions on things that they think that should look different. So, for example, one of the things that came out of a conversation that they had with, at the time, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Lindenberg, he came in, explained to them like the difference between my role and his role. And so as they were talking to him, he oversees security. He said, well, we have some concerns about some security things. So then we had our security director come to the next meeting. They shared their list of concerns. He went, looked into them, came back and reported back to them about the things that he saw. So that is the kind of interactions that we had. We had 2 members of the Student Ambassador serve on the replacement interview committee for special education director. We had 4 students participate in the Leadership Institute that we have for 80 members of our staff, and they talked about the culture and climate data as they see it in some planning. So it's really just to lift up the student voice and all the decision making that we're having as adults, and how are we including those who are experiencing that, by bringing the students into the fold.
So is this going to be for seniors only, or any class?
The Student Ambassador Program right now is for 9th through 12th grade, and the idea is that they stay student ambassadors if they wish until they graduate from high school, and then a new group of 9th graders come.
The people that are going to coming and serving, are they going to be only seniors?
No,
Oh.
no.
So just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm always for students being involved, honestly, but I worry more about not just the election, that being elected. I worry more about, who's going to pick them, and of course, then it becomes, almost like a competition between the students, which is good and healthy, but on the other hand, it might not be. I don't know, do you know what I'm saying?
So the
I
student,
don't know how to.
so we already have our Student Ambassador Program. We had a application process, which was actually a very simple application, and was purposely simple because we wanted to have a variety of different types of students. We didn't want all the students who were student council students, and which is nothing wrong with that, but we also wanted those students who would not participate in student council and really don't want to fill out a really long application to be a part of something. And so and I invite you to come one-to-one meeting if you see the students that we have. And there's a variety of different students and different learners that represent all three of our schools, Groves, Seaholm, and Lincoln Street.
So just for clarification, I see where Luke was going with what I was trying to say. So I really like that we have the ambassadors group, and I can go either way on having students on the board. I was really thinking through whenever we set a precedent on something, I really was thinking of the formality of our school board. To me is a little different than just a regular nonprofit board. And then we have limitations on public comment. So whenever we set a precedent on something, I just want to be mindful of how the general public is impacted, and do we go down a path that is hard to come back from. So that's really what I was thinking about. And I just want to make sure we think all that through before we move forward with it, in case there's someone in opposition of it.
I think we need to make sure we don't use the term sit on our board.
Maybe that's
They are not sitting on our board. They are attending our board meetings as a representative of the student population. Because, like I said, Bloomfield Hills has had, I can't remember what they called them, but they have had students who have attended their board meetings, who have spoken, especially in regard to student issues, but they are not members of the board.
Would they be invited to make comments under board comments, or would it be more informal where they just had a question about a presentation we had, or?
I think it would be, the way I envisioned it, it was that you guys are having a conversation about, for example, the next resolution that I'm going to bring up, which is the alumni pathways. And so, you know, you could have had this conversation already in study session, but say you did not have a conversation in study session, and you say to students, you're going to graduate very soon, I would like to hear from a student representative about what you think in regards to sharing your email address to have the district kind of follow your path through college, and what are some things, pros and cons that you think might be part of that.
That clears up a lot for me.
You know, honestly, it sounds like we'd really be giving, I mean, we're already giving them a chance to see how the district works more just by their meetings with you. But by doing this, then they're really getting a look at how government works, how political action works.
Mm-hmm.
And in these times, I think that's really important for kids to see up close and personal. You know, seven people talking about issues, coming to a consensus. I think it's important to see. Sounds like a good idea.
I agree. I think it's a great idea, and I think that being invited to serve as an ambassador and to have their voices heard during a public meeting, they necessarily wouldn't take that opportunity just by coming for public comment. I don't think they may not even know that that is a right that they have, so I think it's a great idea. It could offer us valuable feedback.
I agree. I'm good with that.
Thank you. The next thing I have under my superintendent's report was Resolution 101, and that resolution is regarding the alumni pathways, and the purpose of this program, which is paid through Oakland Schools. They have a grant that they're offering, but if the board chooses, we would need an intergovernmental agency agreement with Oakland Schools to allow us to share student names and personal email addresses with Oakland Schools, because they would be using LightCast to follow students after they graduate. So after they graduate, they would follow them through the end of their college career and like where they're landing a job, their first job. so that we can see how we're preparing students. We know that we have a high attendance rate in college. Are they finishing college? What role, what jobs careers are they going into? Students would have to give us their personal, because right now their email addresses are the school's email addresses. So the students would have to give us their personal email address to allow us to do that. So it's technically in that way an opt-in situation. There was also a question from the community about whether or not they sell the student data, and they do not. And so
That's a relief.
we have no intentions of using this other than to inform us on our practice about how we're best preparing students for careers and what careers are we preparing them for.
Can I ask, how far back are we reaching with the implementation?
This would be from going forward.
So we're starting with this graduating class for 2024, or we're,
I think it would start with the next year's class.
okay, the next year?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not ready. Okay.
I'm really eager to hear more information about our graduates as they go
I do.
on
I
to work
agree.
or college
I agree.
and then some, so.
Trustee Zammit, I agree. I think that's very valuable for future decision-making. I think that we often lose track. I mean, we don't know where our students go. Sometimes, whether they leave states, whether they change universities, whether they, how many concentrations within their study years they change. This could be very valuable, and it could also help future students in making their decisions for when they want to enter university and what they want to study. So I'm for it.
Not to mention help us with our career days.
Yeah, I agree. I'm for it too. I think that it would help. And also at the end of the day, let's just be honest, with today's technology, you can always unsubscribe if you don't like the email.
Right.
So the student can unsubscribe and don't receive those emails in the future. Am I right? I mean, it's not like we're forcing them.
No.
So could I have a motion for Resolution 101 Alumni Pathways Project Partnership with Oakland Schools?
I move to consider Resolution 101, the pathways forward.
I support.
Lori, move, Luke, support. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution 101 passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to public comment, and I see none, so we will move over to business services report with Resolution 102 and 103.
Thank you. So Resolution 102 is the approval of the 2023-2024 general appropriation budgets. This resolution covers final amended budgets for all the district's funds for this school year. Last week, I outlined in detail the various changes that are being recommended to the board for approval. In short, we're estimating an improvement on the anticipated use of fund balance in the general fund from the prior amendment. Other budgets didn't see significant changes and were adjusted to align more closely with revenue and expenditure trends. Then, as a final note, in addition to last week's presentation, this budget was previously brought to the Finance Committee for review and discussion.
Trustees, do I have a motion for Resolution 102, approval of the 2023-2024 budget?
I move that we approve Resolution 102, approval of the 23-24 general appropriations budget.
Support. Trustees, are there any questions or comments before we move to a vote?
I'd just like to commend Kevin on the preparation of the budget and the report. It was very well done, very comprehensive. I can tell that you tried to anticipate any possible question that we might have. It was a job well done, so thank you.
Agreed.
Just to be on, we're voting on both of them together?
No.
No, separate.
We're just talking about 23-24 right now.
Okay.
The budget
Resolution
amendment.
102.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead.
No, it's okay. I mean, they're both well done.
Yeah, they both were.
By
Yeah.
Kevin, I think he does a great job. my comment is for, so that way I can save my comment for the next one, will be the same comment. I have publicly stated before that if the budget is not balanced, I would not vote to approve the budget, so I'm going to stick to that. And I will be voting no on both resolutions 102 and 103 for those two reasons. But I do commend the progress that Dr. Roberson and Kevin are doing. I feel like we're on the right track. But at this point, I feel like it needs more. And I don't want to put my words where my mouth is. I have said it before publicly. I would vote no. So I'm going to stick to that public comment that I made before. That's all.
So just to be clear, you are voting no on our final 23-24 budget?
Yes. Or that would be correct.
Trustees, are there any other comments or questions before we move for a vote? Amy made the motion, Colleen seconded. All those in favor of Resolution 102, approval of the 2023-2024 General Appropriations Budget Act, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1. Moving to Resolution 103, approval of the 2024-2025 General Appropriations Budget Act.
May I, before you start, I just want to share with the board that the 24-25 proposed budget assumes, has some assumptions. Kevin did go over this last week, but I just wanted to reiterate that the assumptions right now is a foundation increase of $241. Now, we are by law required to pass a projected budget by July 1st. Unfortunately, we still do not have information from the state on exactly what that budget would be. And I said even last week, it is like doing a household budget when your employer hasn't told you exactly how much you're going to be making. And so it's very difficult to do that. Today, Trustee Holcomer and I were in Lansing, and we were advocating for the MIPSers, which is the retirement money, which I have talked about at several board meetings, for us to receive some of that money in addition to the foundation allowance. Just as a Cliff Note version, then retirement money is money that we as a school district and some employees paid into the pension system when the pension system was unstable. And now that it is not only stable, but also 40% overfunded, we are asking that we no longer have to pay that money as a school district. Returning that 7% that we currently pay into it would mean $5 million to our particular district. All state educational organizations who have never been aligned on anything together are aligned in this effort, including the Michigan Association of School Boards, Michigan Association of Superintendents, the MEA, which is the largest teacher union, the AFT, which is another teachers union. You name it, we're united in saying that we want these funds back. Today, and this budget does not include any MIPSers money. And the reason it doesn't is because we do not have a guarantee that we will receive that. Today, and when we were in Lansing, there is still not a guarantee. We've heard a lot of different proposals. The proposals that are on the floor right now would make our budget actually better than what we assumed, but still not acceptable to for what we need as a district, but not only us as a district, but all public educators who again need a strong investment from our state legislators and Congress people. And so I say that because I want to give just the public and this board to know that we conservatively estimated in this budget. This is worst case scenario. We expect things to be better, but we wanted to make sure that we had a balance. We have a plan right now to have our structural shortfall taken care of by 2027.
Mm-hmm.
Each year we are looking at efficiencies, and that is something that as a district we have to do every year. Doesn't matter how much money we receive, we have to look at efficiencies. But the other thing, because we are working on a structural shortfall, is that we're also making some cuts that maybe we wouldn't normally make.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have made if we had the funds to do so. We don't want to cut too much and put ourselves in a place where we are making our school system unstable. Right now, this past year, we had increased enrollment. We want to continue to have our families receive that high-quality education. And so we're doing it incrementally
Mm-hmm.
till we get to 2027, because that is what's in the best interest of students. So I just want to preface that because I know we are not completely there yet, but we do have a plan. We are working towards that plan, and we're hoping that anyone who's listening to my voice right now might send their legislator a little note and say, invest in public education so that we can continue to do what's in the best interest of students.
Dr. Roberson, I'm really glad you brought up the fact that in our strategic plan and our goal is to take care of the structural shortfall by 2027. And it is a slow process. And I think the more and the bigger cuts we make, the more we would potentially hurt our position and even harm the education of our students. So that's why I'm on the conservative side, and I say, go slow. 2027 is just fine with me. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is the fact that we amend our budget 3 times in a year. And the first amendment happens it's after the first count. I don't know if it's beginning of November or end of October, but we have the ability to amend that budget. And if we get these funds, or more than we hope, or more, what we are hoping for, and it comes after our vote, then we amend. Bless you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say, having spent all day in Lansing and hearing not only from lobbyists and people who are working with the legislature, but also other school board members, as hard as it is for all of us to make decisions about cuts, especially cuts that affect staff, which the majority of them do, I think, honestly, seeing what's happening right now, our funding over the next few years will probably continue to be uncertain as opposed to codified in law. And I think that is even more reason for us to be diligent and do our fiduciary duty to make sure that we are in a balanced budget situation, because there is a bill that the House passed that would actually give us the MIPSR reduction in perpetuity, I'll say. However, that is most likely not going to be passed. And so what we are looking at for 25 is, at this point, one-time money. And one-time money does not build your kingdom. So I appreciate how hard it is to make the decisions that Dr. Roberson and the rest of us as trustees have had to make, but trust me, I spend a day with a lot of people who are in panic mode, and it's not fun. And so we are making decisions that, as you said, Lori, will get us to a balanced budget by 2027 so that we can minimize the pain, so to speak, but also still achieve our goal.
And we're in a good place, even though we're not where we want to be, we're in a good place because we have not had to go into our fund equity by even 1% so far. So it's been under 1%. So we're in a good place, but we're continuing to work the plan.
And I think the most important thing I would like people to understand is that we are keeping whatever cuts we make as far away from the classroom and the students as possible. And that, to me, is extremely important.
Sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
That's okay. You spoke already to many of the points I was going to bring up in notification. So the only thing I'll add is just a reminder that this is approving next year's general appropriations budget. By law, we have to pass this by June 30th. And then just a reiteration that this is based on the best estimates of revenues and expenditures that we have at the time. You know, last week we did a very detailed presentation. A lot of information is also contained in the board book for reference. And similar to the prior resolution, this was brought before the Finance Committee for review and questions at that time as well.
Trustees, do I have a motion for Resolution 103, approval of the 2024-2025 General Appropriations Budget Act?
I move to consider for pushing forward Resolution 103, the approval of the 2024-2025 General Appropriations Budget Act.
Second.
Moved by Lori, seconded by Amy. Trustees, are there any other comments or questions for Kevin or Dr. Roberson?
I just have a quick comment. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Dr. Roberson, for all of your work. I just want to speak. I put some notes in my phone, but I have been on both sides of this situation. I worked for a long time as a media specialist in a school district, and our positions were cut back. So I've experienced the other side of this as well. It's difficult as a district employee, but it's also difficult sitting here as a board member. Both perspectives are equally difficult. But now that I'm here in this position, I do believe that it is imperative that we're financially responsible in moving towards that balanced budget for 2027. And I understand that it is really hard for some of the employees who are going to be experiencing this, such as the CSOs that we heard so much from and had so much support from the community for, and counselors and media specialists and anybody else affected. I just understand what that's like from the other side too. But I agree that we're doing what we need to do to be responsible and maintain our financial integrity. So I will be supporting this budget with a heavy heart.
Trustee Spencer, I want to thank you very much for lifting the voices of all of those who attended last week and spoke, and all of the emails that we received as well. Yes, it is difficult. It is with a heavy heart. I'm hoping that we can amend the budget and somehow find a way to a better solution. So I too feel heavy-hearted being on both sides, and know that this fiduciary responsibility is, I think, primary in trying to get us where we need to be. So thank you for lifting their voice.
I agree with Trustee Spencer and Trustee Angelini. I just, the outpouring public support for our CSOs and media specialists and counselors has been overwhelming, and we appreciate it. I personally understand the value that they bring. I'm thankful and grateful that we still will have CSOs in our district and appreciate all they do for BPS. I just, to echo the sentiments of everybody, we have to increase our financial accountability and make these difficult decisions now to prevent us from having to take more drastic measures in the future. So we can consistently assess our financial situation with future budget amendments, but right now I couldn't agree more. Heavy heart for sure, but I will be supporting it as trustee because that is our responsibility to this district and our community. Trustees, anything else before we call for a vote? All those in favor of approving Resolution 103, approval of the 2024-2025 General Appropriations Budget Act, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you, trustees. No, that was not ideal. Moving into other board operating procedures. So I realized from our retreat in October to January when I took over, and then trustee Zamet and Hokumer reviewed our operating procedures and sent them back, that we've never voted on them. So I will be sending them all to you so we can vote on them in August. We have reviewed them at a retreat. We've reviewed them at a study session. Trustee Zamet and Hokumer made a few additional edits, so there shouldn't be anything glaring, but just our new board goals are in there. So that'll be our homework over our break to read and be ready to vote on our board operating procedures.
Okay, great. Thank you, trustees Zamet
Yes.
and Hokumer, for doing that.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
for the edits. Moving into Resolution 104, the 2024-2025 board representation assignments. And thank you, Trustee Ashley, for starting that.
My pleasure. So this is where, in the community, board trustees get to participate as liaisons and as representatives of the board. It is a great way for the board to learn about our community programs, our community programs, and it's a great way for us to learn what people are thinking and how they're voting, and we often get to share these responsibilities in a variety of ways. So we have a list. I did not print off the list, I'm afraid, but these are appointments. What's that?
I have it on my trusty computer if anyone.
Oh, thank you, Trustee Zamet. That's great. So for example, these committees, is what I meant to say, are both liaison and committee members. And we have the committee and liaison programs like the Birmingham African American Family Network. We have the Athletic Advisory Board Committee. We have BPS Diversity and Character Ed Committee. We have the BEF, which is the Birmingham Education Foundation. We have the Birmingham Student Scholarship Fund, or otherwise known as Scholar. We have the Birmingham Youth Assistance, International Academy Liaison, and then we have the Oakland County School Board Association representative. This is where we have our government relations community, or otherwise known as our GRC. We then participate in the PTA Council, which is the PTA, a collection of PTAs within our whole district. We are a member of Friends, which is Friends of Different Learners, which encompasses our special education program and students and parents. And then we have a curriculum committee. And on those, we have appointed trustees. I don't know if you want me to read off the committee members, or because it's going to be posted, but I don't think we need to. Yeah, they should, yeah. The last thing that I wanted to point out is that we have appointments, which are the bond committee, the finance committee, the nominating committee, and the agenda planning. So we are all included in these programs, these committees, and these liaisonships. And it's great. I think it's a great fun to get to know your community members and see what their committees do, what their programs do. So I thoroughly enjoy the committees that I'm on. Trustees, any comments or questions?
I would just like to make one comment, which is that although Luke and I serve as liaisons to the GRC, any trustee in Oakland County can attend those meetings. So I know, Colleen, you attended.
I always meant to, I don't think I ever made it.
So my point is, Luke and I attend and then we take turns reporting back to you. However, any of you can attend at any time.
And when are they again? They're a regular schedule.
The first Wednesday of every month.
Except July.
Yeah, actually July and August.
Oh, July and August, okay.
So thank you, trustees, for your memberships and participation in all of these liaisonships and committees. It's very well, it's commendable.
Trustee Joseph?
Thank you. I would like to recommend that we have a schedule for all these committees, so maybe anybody who's interested to attend any of the committees so they would know when they are, what time and where they are. So instead of asking Jen, for example, or asking Amy, or asking Colleen, or anybody else for that matter, we would just know.
I think they're on our website. I think they're posted on our website and on the calendar. I know that that's where I go to check if I can't remember where,
I'm not sure.
or when the BAFN meeting is.
Some of them are for sure. Finance and bond are usually on they're in the weekly, the e-newses as well. Yeah. But are you talking about others like?
Well,
the
for
GRC?
example, I mean, I'll speak personally. I would like
Council
to.
is?
I would like to attend, for example, once in a while, the Friends Committee. I don't even know when they meet or where they meet. I'm just being honest. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, I don't know like how I can, I know, but that's just one example.
Sure, no, I know.
So that could be other examples.
Right.
Don't they submit a, okay.
No, but I believe most of our affinity groups like BAFN, I signed up for the text messages, so I get a text message when they're having a meeting.
Laura, did you have something to add?
Two things. I want to, first of all, make sure that PAC is included, that this role is not only friends. It's really important, the ISD expects there'll be a board member on the PAC. That is a required parent group for us. Friends is something that Birmingham does, and it's wonderful. And that parent group is consists of parents with and without students with IEPs. Whereas PAC is only members, made up of members of parents that have IEPs. That's part of the PAC rules from others. So just want to make sure that both of those organizations are recognized in your roles. And then secondly, both groups have continued to meet virtually, and it is not a problem for me to make sure that Audra, who will be replacing me, make sure that all of you get a list of the dates and times. They are on our website under PAC and then under Friends. That gets updated with the dates. But the Zoom links may not always be listed there. So we could send you the Zoom links so you have access.
And we do reference PAC in the document.
Great, okay.
It says,
Yes,
it serves
I
as board
neglected.
liaison for both.
Perfect, okay. I didn't hear it and I was
I
like,
didn't
maybe I
say
didn't
it.
say
I
it.
was trying to go fast and I omitted, so thank you for pointing that out.
But yeah, I can make sure that gets taken care of because it's typically, those dates typically are worked out with myself and the parent leaders of each of those groups.
I think it's beneficial for
Sure.
all of us to experience with the other committees. That's, you know, we might not be the main trustee for that committee, but it's nice to know what they talk about or what they, you know, once in a while to be involved. So that's my only comment on it.
And if your committees are meeting at a certain, like the BEF, we meet the second Monday of every month. I'm happy to compile a list of all of these meetings and circulate it to everyone. If you want to tell me when your meetings are, and we can have a list for when we go into August.
So it's the practice that I would give it to you and then you compile it.
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you. So trustees, resolution 104-24-25 board assignments. Can I have a motion?
I move to resolution 104-24-25 board representation assignments forward.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Moved by Nicole, seconded by Luke. All those in favor of Resolution 104, board representation assignments, please raise your hand and say aye. Motion passes 7-0. And our next resolution is Resolution 105, the notice of Board of Education meetings for 2024 to 2025. I want to thank Tracy for mapping out, literally going through the calendar and looking for when our study sessions are, when our special meetings are, what's going on in each month. We did talk yesterday, and I did take off retreats until we know more, I think, going into the fall and winter. Some of them we didn't schedule because it conflicts with MASB's Leadership Summit. So I think we'll have to look at our calendars, September, October timeframe for a retreat. Then I know we have one in January, but thank you, Tracy, for putting that together for us.
Thank you, Tracy.
Is the reason for 2 study sessions in August just to avoid the Labor Day holiday?
Yes, and the one study session is a superintendent evaluation.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I have a motion for Resolution 105?
I motion to move Resolution 105 forward, the notice of board education meetings for 2024-2025 school year.
Support.
Moved by Luke, seconded by Lori. All those in favor of our schedule of the Board of Education meetings for 24-25, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. I did want to also thank Trustee Hokumer and Dr. Roberson for spending their day in Lansing today and representing our district. I appreciate it. And one thing that we didn't have I don't think we had a formal meeting or a meeting to announce that Dr. Roberson's evaluation she was rated highly effective. So that's something for the community to know. So thank you very much. I apologize that it's late, but thank you for all that you do.
Yes, we thank you.
Thank you. Trustees, anything else before we have our month-long summer break?
Yeah, where's all the parties on the calendar?
I am
We
thoroughly
need some
impressed.
parties.
I mean, it is 6:48. I am just so impressed.
I don't have a prepared statement, but I just would like to lift up something that Luke reminded us of, I think, at our last meeting. As I come to the end of my 6-year term as a trustee, I have decided not to run for office again. And so for anyone who's out there listening, who has an interest in having the honor of serving on this board and representing our community, the deadline to apply is, I believe, July 23rd at the city clerk's office. So I'm hoping that we have some strong, good candidates who really care about our community and the future of students, and so I just wanted to make that publicly known.
Thank you, Trustee McKinney. Anything else, trustees?
No.
With that, meeting adjourned at 6:49.
Unbelievable.